Hi, welcome to this edition of Digital Discoveries, and in this edition we're going to be looking at a program called Reflection. And this is a program that all of our teachers in our TLI grant will be receiving, and there's been a lot of interest from campuses about Reflection. So we thought we would take this time to show you what Reflection is, why you would want to use it, and show you how to manipulate it and work it on your computer. Reflection is a program that lets you take the information that's on your iPad and stream it to your computer, whatever, if it's PC or Mac. Doesn't have to, we're going to show it on a Mac, but it works just the same on PC. So you're going to take information from your iPad, put it on your computer. Your computer is hooked up to a projector. It's going to show on a screen. So you're going to be able to show your students everything that's on an iPad. And what's really cool about Reflection is that you can walk around the room. You can actually walk and walk and walk, and you can like show what your students are doing and even have them go onto the iPad to do work. So it's a really neat program, and it actually replaces a device that campuses were actually looking at. Campuses were looking at purchasing Apple TVs to do this exact same thing. And it turns out that Reflection does that for pretty good savings. So let's look at Reflections. Let's see how to set it up, and then we're going to play with it just a little bit. So Reflection, you'll be getting it to load onto your computers. Again, it works on Mac or PC. So what you see on the Mac, what you see on the PC, pretty much the same thing. They work pretty much the same way. I'm going to turn it on here on my Macintosh, and when you turn on Reflection, nothing happens. You're like, what the heck? There's nothing going on here. Well, that's because it's waiting for you to turn on your iPad and get the information from your iPad to the computer. So it's kind of like just sitting there waiting. Come on, send me some information. So you have to turn on your iPad, and so there's some little tricks that you got to do this on your iPad. So you turn on your iPad, like we got right here. We got it turned on, and I'm going to switch my little button here so we don't rotate around too much. And so then what we're going to do is, once we've turned on an iPad, you have to actually do something called turn on the AirPlay. And what that AirPlay does is it's kind of a program that lets the computer stream this computer, which is your iPad, stream to that computer, which is your PC or your Mac that's in your classroom. And so there's a trick to getting to AirPlay. It's not an obvious thing. It's not something that you think, well, where's AirPlay? It's not showing up. I don't see it. On your iPad, you've got your home button down there at the very bottom. I don't know if you can zoom in on that home button right there. You see, there we go. We've zoomed in. If you double click on that home button, when you zoom in, now it may take a second, and it may show up. You're like, well, where is it? I don't really see it. But you may take a while, because it actually has to get onto your network, and you have to be on the same network. The iPad has to be on the same wireless network as your computer, okay? So in our district, we've set up the iPads. Every campus now has an iPad network, so you have to be on that iPad network. So you see there that there's this little button right here, and it's kind of hard to see right there, but it's a rectangle with a triangle in it. It's a rectangle with a triangle in it. And so if you click on that, it gives you another screen that pops up, and it's going to ask you, well, where do you want it to go? Do you want it to play on your iPad? Well, it doesn't make much sense to play on your iPad, because your iPad is where you're at. So you want it to play on the computer that the Reflection program is on. And then you have to click on mirroring. So I want to show you real quick what happens on the computer once you click on mirroring right there. You can move that over there. As soon as you turn that on, look what happens on your computer. You get your iPad. Your iPad shows up on the computer. So imagine, we don't have it set up exactly here like this, but in your classroom, your computer is hooked up to your projector. So you're actually projecting. So this could be our projector here, back here, so you can see that we've got that going. So we'll pretend that this is our projector. We're projecting up on the wall there. So that's our screen. So that's a pretty cool thing. So once you're done, you get out of that, pop it. You just hit the button a couple of times, Now notice that the screen turns with the iPad. That's pretty cool too. So if you're looking at it in landscape mode, the screen is in landscape mode. If you're looking at it in portrait mode, it switches to portrait mode. So anything that you're doing on your computer shows up on Reflection. So let's kind of look through Reflection and see what it can do. What are some of its capabilities? I'm going to keep my iPad going right there. Now again, one of the things you've got to remember about your iPad is that it could go to sleep. It's kind of set in energy mode. So every once in a while it might pop out. This might even happen while we're looking at it here. So I'm looking at my iPad. Let's go over here to Reflection. Now to get out of this, you can see now that I've got it kind of zoomed out. Let's look at the menus up at the top of the screen so we can see what Reflection's asking us to do. It clicks on the device. The first screen is device, and so you have these several options. You can actually close the connection, turn it off. We don't want to do that right now. You can enter full screen mode, which is what we just did. We were in full screen mode, and what that means is just the iPad is on the screen of your computer, your laptop, your Mac, or your PC. Always on top means that the Reflection, your iPad, will always be on top of whatever you're doing on your computer. So that means you're kind of locked out of your other programs. So you probably don't want to click on always on top unless that's all you're doing today. It's just using your iPad. Now, showing the frame, let's talk about the frame a sec. On your iPad, you've got a frame around the screen. You see you've got this frame around the screen. And you know that iPads come in either black or white. So you can actually choose whether to show that frame or not. It's kind of cool, especially for our little ones. If you're trying to show them something to do on their iPads, it's kind of cool if they actually see the whole iPad there. So they kind of put up this fake little screen there. But you don't have to show that. So you can actually click Show Frame, and it shows it without it. So that's kind of neat too. That's kind of a neat thing to do too. Remember what I'm doing here is I'm just showing everything that's going on my computer. So let's see. Let's pop back out. Okay. All right. So I'm going to show the frame because I like the frame. Now you actually have a choice of kind of frame you want, black or white, because you know the iPad comes in either black or white. So you can actually click on I want it to show either black or white. If we click it to black, that's what the frame looks like. If we click it to white, that's what the frame looks like. I kind of like the white, so I'm going to stick with white for this demonstration. Now, we're going to talk about recording in a second. Now, one of the things that you can do is you can also click on automatic orientation. What that means is what we were just showing. If you change the orientation of the device, the orientation of the screen changes. So here we go, here we go. You can see that every time we move the device, the screen moves with it. So I'm moving it that way, screen moves to landscape. Move it that way, screen moves to portrait. So that's kind of what that's all about. We can also say stretch to fit, so you can play with that. And that's just like showing what it actually looks like, some actual sizes. And I kind of just do stretch to fit because half size is too small and the stretch to fit is too big. So I just kind of the actual size is too big, so I just kind of like say stretch to fit. So that's how I like to look at it there. Okay, we're going to pop it back up in there into landscape mode. Again, if we click on full screen, if I click on full screen, boom, that's the full screen. There's nothing else going on in that computer. And if I hit escape, it'll pop back out. Now, forcing the landscape mode means that it won't change. If I click on force landscape, that means if I move my device, look what happens. It's forcing it to look in the landscape mode. So if I can change my device around, it like forces the landscape. So now, why would you want to force the landscape? You'd want to force the landscape if you're always using landscape mode. And you don't want to like, the kids are looking at your computer and you're walking around and you're moving your your iPad while you're walking around the room, and they're like going crazy looking at it. But it's like watching a roller coaster when it's moving back and forth like that. But if you just keep it in landscape mode or keep it in portrait mode, then it looks a lot better. So that's essentially what that's all about. So we want to keep it in, I like landscape mode, but you know, it's not a, if you like portrait mode, then you use portrait mode. Okay. Same thing with force portrait. It forces it to look like a portrait. You know, there we go. And there we go, and there we go. And it takes a second or two to catch up with me. Okay, so that's the basics of the device, controlling the device. You can be in full screen mode. You can close the connection on the Wi-Fi itself, closing the connection. You can always have it on top. You don't have to have it always on top. Let's see, let me see if I can get my guy back here. Let's see, there we go. I don't want to force it in portrait mode. That's why it's kind of goofy right now. It's looking kind of weird. Let's see, come on now. There we go. There we go. Whoa, what did I just do? There we go. I turned it off by accident. There we go. Okay. So what's really cool is that you're actually, everything you're doing on your computer, everything you're doing on your iPad is actually showing up on your computer. So really, Reflection is just a very small program that's used to stream information from your iPad to your computer, then to a screen. The last thing I want to talk about is recording. You can actually record what you're doing on your iPad if you're trying to demonstrate something to students. And so maybe you want to do it, maybe you don't want to do it, I don't know, but I'll let you do it. You can actually do start recording. So I'm going to do a very short recording here, show you what it looks like when it's done, okay? So I'm going to do start recording, and I'm going to click on iBooks, and some book will pop up. There it is. This is called 180 Questions. There's this little book, and it shows what the book is. There it is. You're popping through it. There's the book, and now I'm done with that. And I want to stop the recording. So now I have to go back to my computer, not the iPad, but my computer, and I want to say stop the recording. So I've got like 26 seconds of recording there, and I'm going to call my recording 26 seconds. There it is. I say save. And it takes a few seconds to turn it. Of course, the longer you're recording, the longer it's going to take to turn it into a movie. If you have a very short recording, it's going to take just a few seconds. So you can see we're doing this in real time here. So the 26-second recording, and it takes about 26 seconds for it to turn it into a movie. And so once it's done, there's our movie. That's what it looks like, and we'll see how it looks. And it should look exactly like what we just did. It should just play that back. There's our movie. It's playing it. You get the idea. So why would you want to record something like that? Well, if you're trying to show some students something to do in a particular program or an app that's on their iPad, maybe making a recording of that is a good way to go. So that's Reflection. It's a pretty easy program to use. You're going to be getting it pretty soon to load onto your teacher computer, or it might even be pushed down from the technology services onto your teacher laptop, so that you can stream from your iPad to your computer to your projector and then into your room. So here we have from the iPad to the computer, our projector. That's how it works. So that's Reflection, pretty easy program to use. If you have any problems with Reflection, please call your instructional technology specialist. They'll take care of it for you. But I think you guys can figure it out. You're smart enough to get this program up and running. Thank you for joining me today for this edition of Digital Discoveries.